Okay. Good morning, everybody. We're in Parashat Lech Lecha. In the parasha is something very interesting. We're talking about Lot sitting in Sodom. Is sitting a good thing or a bad thing? Let's go and look what's written with Yaakov Avinu is written. Vayeshev Yaakov be'eretz migurei aviv be'eretz Canaan. And Yaakov sat at the land of his fathers in the land of Canaan. And then Rashi explains immediately, Vayeshev, sitting, Yaakov was intending to sit in peace and quiet, and the whole story of Joseph started. Tzadikim mevakim l'shem b'shalat tzadikim. They want to sit here and have a nice, how do you say, holiday? It's not a holiday. It's not a place to rest. This is a place to work. Especially, says the Kodesh Baruch Hu, Lo dayan ma shemitukan lehem le'olam haba. It's not enough what they have expected, that what they have to get in the next world, that they want to sit here and peace and quiet. Here you have to work. That's the word to work. In other words, to sit is not exactly a good thing. And also the first Mizmor in Tehillim says, Ashrei ha'ish asher lo halach b'tzad ha'tovim. Blessed is the man who didn't go in the atzah of the Rashaim, in the advice of the wicked, and in the way of the sinners, b'derech hata'im, he didn't stand, and moshav letzim lo yashav. Again, and he didn't sit in a where people are having a gathering and talking nonsense. How do you say things that are nothing to do with the real world? Lo yashav. In other words, sitting is not a good thing. But if we want to think about sitting, there's also with Yaakov is written, Ishtam Yoshev Ohalim. He is an innocent guy, sits in the tents, and sitting there is a good thing. He sits in the tent of Torah, he learns Torah. In other words, sitting is not physical, what the Torah says. It's not meaning I sat down. It's meaning of settling. It's meaning of what is your intention. Do you think you finished your job in this world? And also it shows who you are, where you sit, where is your peace and quiet, where do you look for it? You look at it in the physical world or you look at it in the spiritual world? Look at what's written in with Lot. Lot is being captured and is being taken away from Sodom. And we know that he sits in Sodom, and the Torah tells us again, and they took Lot and his property and his possessions. He is the son of the brother of Abraham. Vayelchu, and they went away with Lot. Vehu yoshev b'Sodom, and he sits in Sodom, but he doesn't sit in Sodom. They took him away. Now, if you think they want to tell us that he was living in Sodom, so we go and we see that it's written very clearly, Velot yashav ba'arei hakikar vayal et Sodom, that was the place where Lot was staying. In other words, the sitting here has got a different meaning. And what does it mean? It means that though they took Lot away from Sodom, he is all idea, is all, how do you say, thinking and way of life was Sodom. In other words, we see here a figure that came from, he's like, Avram is his uncle, and he was raised up in the house of Avram. So it was a house of tzaddikim. And it could well be that in the beginning, Lot was also a tzaddik in a certain way. But the corruption of the people of Sodom corrupted him also, to the point that even that God is showing him it's not good being there, because you see, there is a war, they captured you, they took you away, and you in your mind are still there, and where is he going when he comes back? To Sodom. In other words, it's all meaning, is all being is Sodom. And this is to tell us the influence of a bad environment, the influence of the society around, of the people around you. And unfortunately, even if you go away, it still goes with you. This is why Avraham Avinu is being told, Lech Lecha me'artzecha u'mimoladetcha u'mibet avicha el haaretz asher areka. God tells Avraham Avinu, leave the place and leave everything behind you. Leave your land, leave your town, leave your home, everything, leave. And by the way, he was also not supposed to take Lot with him. Lot just ran after him because he was afraid that the Yerusha is going away. Because as you remember, we talked about it, Avraham Avinu has no children, and Lot is the closest relative, and Avraham Avinu is very rich. And Lot, as we see, the whole way he loves money. He is like money turns him and does him, and really it's all about money. And that's why when he sees Avraham Avinu going, he's thinking to say, 1 minute, my Yerusha is going. So he goes with Avraham, and Avraham's got no option. What can he say? I don't want to take you. So he takes him. And we see that God doesn't speak with Avraham Avinu all the way when Lot is with him. Only after Lot leaves him, God speaks with Avraham Avinu. And there also we have a fight. And Avraham Avinu tells him, they had a fight between the shepherds of Lot and the shepherds of Avraham Avinu, because they were going to fields that they don't own, and they're letting the cattle to eat from others, like this is stealing. And the shepherds of Avraham Avinu told them, you're not allowed to do this. So what did they say? This land is being promised to Avraham Avinu, and we are only people that are going to inherit this Yerusha from Avraham Avinu. He's got nobody else. So in other words, it's ours. So we can eat. The problem is that it wasn't yet Avraham Avinu. It was still occupied, being not occupied, it's being owned to other people. And when Avraham Avinu saw what's happening, he told Lot, let's say, you are my brother. Let's separate as friends. And you choose your place, and I choose my place. You know what? You choose. And you decide, wherever you go, I go to the other side. So Lot is looking around, and he sees the place of Sodom. Wow, this is an unbelievable place. Green and very sophisticated and very developed. Well, this is a good place. And the Torah tells us that he puts his tents to Sodom. And the Torah is mentioning us that Sodom is not exactly a good place. God is mentioning it us very clearly. The Anshei Sodom ra'im v'chata'im la'Hashem me'od. Me'od, they are very corrupt. They are sinners. They are evil people. So you see those evil people, you see the corruption, and you go there? Because how do you know the saying? Money turns the world around and all around. So he turned him also around. And he decided to be there. And what happened is, the bad people of Sodom influenced him to the point that he became one of them. In mind, in soul, he is all in the idea of running after money, corruption, to the point that even when they capture him and they take him away, he is still in his mind, Hu Yoshev Besdom, sitting in Sodom. And that's the meaning of sitting, what the Torah is telling us. It's like sitting in a state of mind. Where are you? Where do you look for, let's say, where do you want to sit? You want to sit in the midrash, you want to sit in the best midrash, or you want to sit in let's say in a pub, or in gambling, whatever. And we see that what is motivating Lot is money. And this money makes him go to sit with the people of Sodom. And this money corrupts him to the point that he is all being, his all idea, his all intention are Sodom. And he comes back to Sodom and sits there. So what do we learn from this? Because this is not, as we say, it's not a story. We have a little Lot inside us. We have Avraham Avinu. We have everybody inside us telling us and everybody is trying to drag us to a different side. And we have to know it. We have to understand, if we live in a corrupt place, we will be influenced by the corruption. Like I always say the story, a guy comes to a doctor, he smokes a lot, and the doctor shows him a picture and how his lungs are look, and they're all black. Says, if you go on smoking, you die. Okay. 2 minutes later, he goes out, and who does he see smoking in the smoker corner? The same doctor. He's asking, doctor, what? You just 2 minutes ago, you told me that cigarettes kill, and you now stand here and smoke? He says, it's nothing to do with it. Okay, this is true, but I still smoke. I like smoking. So what is it? You know it's wrong and you still do it. That's unfortunately Yetzirah. That's the bad inclination. That's exactly the idea. That's the fight we have. We want to eat the cake, and this cake is full of sugar, and we're not allowed sugar, but we want to eat the cake. But we are not allowed to eat the cake. Everybody's eating. Why shouldn't I? And the same way is keeping kosher, a lot of things in life. John, my wife, she saw a program in television a few years ago on women that are being in jail. And you have, like what you say, the white collar, and you have the black collar. Or in other words, you have those who did they have tax problem or other things, but they come from good homes, good education. It can be politicians, it can be business people. And this show a program on women in women jail. And they put those women from the white collar, those who did let's say, had tax problem and had to sit in jail, they were stealing taxes. And they sat together with women that were, let's say, robbers and really low life, all those stealing and robberies and sometimes even killers. And they were sitting together there. And you saw the language of the two sides. Those that came from good homes, they had a nice language. But those who came from, let's say, bad places, they had they spoke like it was really, hard to listen to it. It's all cursing and talking really rude. Like, it's really not nice to hear. It reminds me, I had friends years ago, and I have a group of friends from America and from the States, and they were talking, and every third word was F whatever. I don't want to go into it. And if you look at films, for example, you look at American films, the English films, for example, yes, you see the English thing, that language is nice language. When you look at American films, you have all the time you hear those bad words. And you can try and look at it, and you see sometimes you don't have to try and see where was this film produced. You just listen to the language and you will know in a few minutes. That's the influence of the environment. They're not bad people, but that's the way they were raised, with all those curses, whatever. And if you take this to the jail, so what was happening is, slowly but surely, the longer they were going with this documentary film, you saw that those women from the good homes were starting talking like the other women, like all those villains, all those criminals. And then they interviewed them when they were released from jail and went back home. I know it was unbelievable. They were talking like really coming from the worst place. Bad language, curses, because they were influenced by the people, by the women they had in jail, were living with them. And this is what happens to each one of us. And if we think for a minute that it's not going to happen to us, look around, think a little, and you will see how we influence what's happening around. For example, today, to be gay, which is the oraita, not allowed by the Torah. I don't know if I told you about it. A few weeks ago, I got on the internet a film of a religious wedding. Listen, religious wedding between two men. And the paradox was there were separate dancing. I couldn't understand it. I couldn't believe what I'm seeing. It says, from one side, you have two guys getting married in a Jewish traditional marriage, and the mother, so to speak, kisui rosh, covered her hair, and they had separate dancing. This is Sodom. What do you think Sodom is? Do you think Sodom thought that they are wrong? They thought that they are doing the right things. And they had even special laws. It was unbelievable. And what was it? You know, sometimes we think about Sodom and we say, well, Sodom, we are not Sodom. You know what was Sodom? Why were Sodom especially very nasty with visitors? Because it was a very rich place. They had they had good life. They had all the best things. And really, they were afraid that if people come from outside, they will take their parnasa, they will take what they've got. And at the end, they will lose. And by the way, it's happening all over the world. When we don't want people from other countries to come in and take the jobs from the people that live here. And it's happening in America. You need to have a visa in order to go and work in the States or to live there, and also in other places. Yes, you have the righteousness that they take all those, how do you call them, refugees and etc. But we all know that the influence is bad. So 1 minute, is this Sodom? Sounds very good. That's something you have to do. You have to protect your society. You have to protect your town, your place. If you let all the riffraff come in your place, you will be influenced, as we said. You will get influence from all those people, and they will ruin your place. You will ruin your life. So what did Sodom decide? No more, no visitors, no nothing. Nobody comes in. And if somebody came in, as we see later on with Lot, and there are a lot of stories, but that's not the time to talk about. But you have to understand they had laws. And it all started with a normal idea. But we all know this is the laws of Sodom. Of course, I'm not saying that you will allow everybody to come here to Eretz Israel or other countries should. But you have to understand that there is a very narrow bridge between the right side and the wrong side. And we have to be careful. So how can we keep the right place? Going according to the Torah. What the Torah tells us to do, that's what we do. The Torah tells us what is right and what is wrong. And the Torah tells us how to speak. And sitting with bad people, definitely not the good thing to do. But we have to understand that all those things sometimes start with a small thing. Look around you. If I can see a wedding that from one side doing something that is not allowed halachically, very clear, and I'm not saying, you know what, you have this desire, keep it at home. We don't have to know about it. I don't need your bedroom to be outside the street. You want to be gay? Be gay. It's your problem, not mine. But you don't show my children or my grandchildren and my children, you don't show them that this is right. Because it's not right. The Torah forbids this very clearly. So you do a wedding and you have separate dancing. This is like, it's so distorted that you cannot even understand what's going on. But, you know, for example, I talked with somebody that she says, we're talking about this similar issues. Okay, I'm good with it now. What do you mean you're good with it? If the things we see today would have happened 40 years ago, 50 years ago, who would agree to this? Nobody. And today, It's a pride. You're being proud. And it gets to the point that you don't, young people, they don't know what's right and wrong. Children, they don't know what's right and wrong. And they think that that's the way to live. And that is exactly what God is telling Abraham, Lech Lecha, go away. Leave everything behind you. Only this way you can build a new society, good society. When you separate yourself from the evil, from the bad, from the corruption, but if you're involved in it, and you say, okay, I'll do this, but I don't do this, eventually, what's going to happen to you is what happened to Noah. Noah also, he came from the house of Abraham Avinu. And I'm sure that while he was living with Abraham Avinu, he was a tzaddik, maybe not like Abraham Avinu, but did whatever he has to do. But the minute he separated himself from Abraham Avinu and went to sit in Sodom, then it started to the point that even when they captured him and took him away from Sodom, in his mind, he was in Sodom. Vehu Yoshev Sodom. So what is the lesson for us? We have to listen to this point of truth that we have inside, and not to agree to everything we see around, to understand that certain things are not allowed, and to try and get away as far as we can. Why? Because if we don't go away, it will have the influence on us. Unfortunately, we cannot always get away. So what do? We have to know, at least to know that it's wrong, and to fight it, and not sit quietly and rest. The job is done. This world, this is the world, Olam HaMaaseh. Here we have to do. Here we have to fight the bad inclination. Here we have to fight the bad. And sometimes God is showing us the other side to tell us, you see, that's what can happen. What can happen? We have a wedding of gays with separate dancing. Now, this is, how does it go together? Because from one side you say, there is no gender. On the other side, you make, in your own wedding, you make the separation between men and women? What's going on here? Okay, I think that we understand the idea. The idea, I just took this point. There are a lot of other things in life that we have, that we, let's say years ago, we were very strict about it. And today we are going with what's happening around us. And we have to know, this is exactly Lot. This is Vehu Yoshev B'Sodom. So at least when we know that there is a problem, we can fight it. But if we think that there is no problem, we got to the point that the influence is so bad that we take things, okay, nothing wrong. That's where we have to fix it. That's when we have to listen to God to tell us, Lech Lecha me'artzecha u'moladcha beit avicha. All the best. Have a nice day.